بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Before starting, I want to remind everyone to please pray for everyone, particularly Brother Jalil, who's in Italy, who's very ill, and our members in Cuba who are having difficulties and health problems and so on. And of course, everyone else, whoever they are and wherever they may be. The first verses I want to recite are from Al-Baqarah, verses 273 and 274. للفقراء الذين أحصروا في سبيل الله لا يستطيعون ضربا في الأرض يحسبهم هم الجاهل أغنياء من من التعفف تعرفهم بسيماهم لا يسألون الناس إلحافا وما تنفقوا من خير فإن الله به عليم الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Charity is for the poor who are confined in the way of Allah. They cannot go about in the land. The ignorant man thinks them to be rich on account of their abstaining from begging. You cannot recognize them by their mark. You can recognize them by their mark. They beg not of men importunately, and whatever good thing you spend, surely Allah is knower of it. Those who spend their wealth by night and day, privately and publicly, their reward is with their Lord. And they have no fear, nor shall they grieve. The next one is chapter 3, verse 91. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. You cannot attain to righteousness unless you spend out of what you love. And what you spend, Allah surely knows. And then chapter 70, verses 24 and 25. والذين في أموالهم حق معلوم للسائل والمحروم الذين يصدقون بيوم الدين and in whose wealth there is a known right for the beggar and the destitute. In fact, although I didn't read the Arabic, I will go back and read a few more verses here. Which say, where are we? It shall claim him who retreats and turns his back, and hoards, then withholds. Surely man is created impatient, fretful when evil afflicts him, and niggardly when good befalls him, except those who pray, who are constant at their prayer, and in whose wealth there is a known right for the beggars and the destitute. I have given this sermon the title Cost of Living Crisis and Muslims. And this is why I recited those verses of the Holy Quran. There is another that I'll just read the Arabic. Have you seen him who belies religion? That is the person who is rough to the orphan and urges not the feeding of the needy. So woe to the praying ones who are unmindful of their prayers, who good to show off and refrain from acts of kindness. I have given this sermon the title Cost of Living Crisis and Muslims for two reasons. One, that of course Muslims themselves are affected by the cost of living crisis, and I'll come to that at the end. But how should a Muslim behave during this cost of living crisis? Everyone's impacted by it, but what do you do? And I repeat the verse of the Holy Quran, those who spend their wealth by night and day, privately and publicly. And I point out again, and I have done this so frequently, that here there is no mention of the religion of the person or the sect of the person on whom this wealth is spent. The next verse that I recited, and in whose wealth there is known right for the beggar and the destitute. At the time of the revelation of the Holy Quran, do you think there were only Muslim beggars and Muslim destitute in Medina? Medina was inhabited by followers of many religions. There were Christians there, there were Jews there were idol worshippers there, and of course Muslims. But these verses do not distinguish between the religion of the destitute or the beggars. Abu Huraira reported the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as saying, one who lends effort to the widows and the poor is like waging jihad in the way of Allah, or one who regularly prays at night and fasts during the day. Again, widows and poor. How hard was it for the Holy Prophet Muhammad to add one word, Muslim widows, Muslim poor, believing widows, believing poor, but he didn't. Because when a man in need comes to you and asks you for help, you don't ask his religion. You don't ask what his sect is. Again, the Holy Prophet Muhammad said, when a man dies, his deeds come to an end, except for three things. Sadqa Jariyah, continuing reward. And what is Sadqa Jariyah? Knowledge that he leaves behind which is beneficial. So a doctor invents a medicine. You see, the interesting thing is, it says when a man dies. It doesn't say when a Muslim dies. So if someone invents a cure for, I don't know, COVID or cancer, that will be sadqa jariyah for him. As long as people's pain is being relieved, as long as they're being cured, the inventor will continue to get the reward for that. Virtuous descendants who do good and who pray for him. These are the only two things that will continue to reward the person who's passed away. None of this 40 days and food on the table and Maulvi comes and prays and says, I'm transferring your good deeds to the deceased and so on. Nothing of the kind is mentioned in the Holy Quran anywhere, or the Hadiths. Whose prayer will count? A virtuous descendant, not Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then there's the opposite. The Prophet, upon whom be peace, said some people will not enter heavens. A cunning person, a miser who doesn't help people, who hoards wealth, and one who keeps reminding people of what he has given them. These people will not enter heaven. Misers will not enter heaven. But by being generous, it doesn't mean that you go and waste your money. Being generous means that you're generous for others, not spending money on buying the latest gadgets for your own kids, while your neighbor's kids are starving. And we hear the children are now coming to school hungry, and the schools have to give them breakfast. In the days of old, some of you might remember, there used to be a milk break when every kid had half a pint of milk, when they would have that half a pint of milk. And those in need will get free school dinners, as they were called, although it was lunch. But all of that has come to an end. But this is talking about the general population. I now want to share a report with you about the condition of Muslims. 1 in 5 British Muslims have used food banks since last August. But now that figure has risen to 50%, especially for those in lower wage brackets. You look at the price of food and so on, can someone on the till in some grocery store or doing deliveries and so on, can he afford to pay the rent for his house, gas, electricity, and then put food on the table? 50% of Muslims on minimum wage are resorting to food banks. A staggering 1 in 4 British Muslims reported having requested zakat in the last 12 months. While 2/3 of British Muslims said their ability to afford household bills was one of their main concerns about their future financial stability. 50% of the Muslim population is considered to be in poverty. That compares to 18% overall. So Muslims are forming the poorest, the most hard up. 50% of the Muslim population is considered to be in poverty. What are the reasons for that? There are many reasons. One reason is that they're always looking backwards. I'm going to Pakistan. I'm going to build a house in Mirpur. I'm going to do this back home. They never stabilize their economic circumstances in the UK where they're living. The result is they fall into poverty here. And they're in poverty wherever they've come from. Secondly, lack of education. Other communities, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, they stress education. Parents go hungry to make sure their kids get private tuition so that they can get into good universities and so on. But Muslims are always looking back. It's just like Muslims are always looking back in history. 1500 years ago we did this. 1000 years ago we did that. In the same way, they're always looking back. Back to Pakistan, back to this country, back to that country. The result is that they are poor, and the result is that their children are going to be poor. Because they're poor, they wouldn't be able to feed and educate their children. And their children will not be able to get proper jobs and fall behind. This is exactly what was happening in India at the time of the British. 50% of Muslim population is considered to be in poverty compared to 18% of the national population. 54% of all Muslims noted some level of difficulty in paying their energy bills in the last 3 months. 54% compared to 30% in the normal population. 60% of Muslims have had to take out loans just to pay their bills. And 33% have reported that they have to go hungry. The strain extends beyond the financial, and with 3/4 of British Muslims reporting the crisis affecting their mental health. Almost 20% indicate a very significant impact, which rises to 82% for those in the lower wage brackets. And this attitude, God will provide, oh, tomorrow it's okay. I don't have to bother to worry about saving for a deposit to buy myself a house, or saving to so that when I retire I get a pension. All of it, God will provide. How? I invite you to go out into the back garden and see if there are 50-pound notes falling from the sky. There aren't. You have to work. You have to educate yourself, and you have to educate your children. If all of this is happening before your eyes, And yet you're still looking back, whether it is in time or in place. 1,000 years ago, we ruled the known world. Well, so what? When you get your next electricity bill, write to them. 1,000 years ago, we used to rule the world. How dare you ask me to pay for my electricity? In the same way, people are not settling down in this country, but always looking back. I came from Egypt, I came from this country, I came from that country. Establish yourself where you are. And here's a testimony, and I end on this, from a Muslim single mother. Her story is the normal one, that some Muslim from some country came, married her, had kids, got his stay in this country, and then left. Why? Because his parents were going to arrange a marriage for him from back home. No consideration for the woman who's given you these benefits and so on. She and her child were hungry. So she went to her local mosque and asked them that they collected zakat during Ramadan. If she could, let me read this. I once asked my local mosque if I could access zakat fund from them in order to feed my children. I was told no one in UK can be that needy. So all the zakat collections go towards efforts to alleviate poverty abroad. Muslims and others are going hungry, are cold, are freezing because they don't have clothes. And what are we doing? Yes, as I said early on, looking back. Not doing anything for the people here. This is how we fall behind other communities all the time. And yet we don't learn anything from it. All their zakat collections go towards efforts to alleviate poverty abroad. I was at my lowest point, but as a single mother, my voice was not heard. Alhamdulillah, I'm still alive and missing meals to be able to pay my bills. And what's happening to the zakat? It's going back. And that's what I was saying. Muslims should be setting an example of helping the local community. Everyone, whatever their religion. But how can they? When their own members are starving, living in freezing houses. Why? Because all the zakat is going back to country X or country Y. The money we earn is going back to country X or country Y. Every 5 minutes we run back to country X or country Y. If that country is so dear to you, why are you here? There must be some reason. This cost of living crisis should open our eyes. Open our eyes and make us see that because we're always running back to what we call our countries, we are destroying our future We are destroying our family's future. We are destroying our children's future. And my prediction is that what's going to happen is that other communities who came here, like Hindus and Sikhs, they're going to prosper. They're going to be doctors and accountants and financial analysts and bankers and so on. And our children are going to be their cleaners. And our children are going to be their cleaners. And on Friday, when they go to the mosque for Friday prayers, the Imam will tell them, 1,000 years ago, Istanbul was the hub of the universe. But not tell them, establish yourself where you live in. Work hard, buy a house, save for your pension, educate your children. As God says in the Holy Quran, He doesn't help those who don't help themselves. And if you're going to continue to walk this path, that is what will continue to happen to the families or to the community as a whole. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum. Allahumma akhzul man khazala dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa la taj'alna minhum. Ibadallah rahmukumullah, inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsya'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Zkurullaha yazkurkum wad'uhu yastajib lakum wa la zikrullahi akbar. Wallahu ya'lamu ma tasna'un.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya salat, hayya falah, qamatis salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Astaghfirullah. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. Our next broadcast is going to be on Monday, inshallah, 7 o'clock to 7:30 to Dabbarul Quran and 7:40 to 10 past 8 reflections on the Holy Quran. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, please do let us have them. We always welcome ideas about how to improve our service. In the meantime, I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and good luck.